Hello Moogles, it's Schwantz27 here, and it's the end of the third week of the Kefka Grand Prix Deluxe event, so let's review all of the racing action with a look at the standings and an update to the event that starts with this upcoming week's races. This past week, however, we were on the Phantom Forest Railway with the Cyan start, shuffled steals and drops, YNPC set to remove, no free progression, and a huge nerf to magic. The Chocobo class had Jump Setzer and Health Celeste to go with Morph Cyan, with our free checks being an Offering from Kolingen, a Minerva from the South Figaro Prisoner spot, and the Narsh Weapon Shop gave us a choice of an Aura Lance if you wanted to gamble that Setzer could use it, or an Atma weapon for later that Celeste could definitely use, but not until we get to level 32 or so, with a 12 battle curse shield. Those that made it all the way down south to the World of Ruin Albrook Town were treated to Super Balls in the weapon shop, which is probably where they should be, given how easily they can destroy early bosses. Taking these to Mount Zozo for an easy Dirt Dragon fight yielded an Ice Shield and a Genji Glove as the reward at the last of our free checks. With some balls left over, going to the Opera House Skull Dragon gave another Minerva, and Search the Skies was the Ifrit Esper. Now that we were out of easy ways to kill bosses, we'd actually have to try and kill Air Force at Dome of Siege, but we got Magitech Steel Gao to help. However, only one Thunder Rod wasn't enough to take down this glass cannon, as we needed to survive through another round of attacks. We were rewarded, however, with an Aura Lance from a shuffled drop if we didn't pick it up earlier on for Setzer to use. Our new character's ability meant making a beeline for the Magitech factory to power up Gao, and it also helped that there was a Dragon Horn in an on-the-way chest that rounded out Setzer's build. After easily destroying Ultros for Madeline, SR Behemoth was annoying due to only having Ice Magic on our characters not named Gao and Setzer, but getting through the fight gave the Ragnarok Esper, and we weren't getting that upgrade for free as Funbaba and Goddess guarded the Kieran reward at the end. Moving on to the Veld, that also wouldn't be easy with bad minecart encounters and SR Behemoth showing up. We eventually got the Tritok reward before heading through the Serpent Trench to finally get a character to replace that useless Cyan, and it was a great one with Sword Tech Edgar. Before heading into Doma Dream to power up yet another character, we nabbed the 4-shield heir to the Figaro throne. We also went 3 for 3 in the other multi-part check, Phantom, Torado, and Ramu as the rewards, so it was back to the drawing board for characters when we finalized yet another build. Putting off Edgar's checks, Daryl's Tomb is where Go-Go could be obtained. However, this just meant another unfavorable check choice in Zone Eater. Malgré decided instead to peek the Edgar loop and found a Yeti leading the band of thieves to the engine room. With this 7th character and 8 Espers in tow, there is no reason to continue onward to the ancient castle, so we headed towards World of Ruin Narsh. The Red Dragon dropped the Valiant Knife that replaced our Aura Lance for an Offering Setzer instead of a jumping one. Shote was the Cliff reward, and there was another character to Moro's Cave if you didn't go to Daryl's Tomb, which happened to be Locke, so you could nope out of this fight and finish off your Kefka requirements with a 40,000 GP to Zen Thief in either world for Fenrir. Opera House Disruption wasn't a character, so this seed ended up being very linear. Kefka's Tower had some not-so-fun fights with Atma at the end of the middle lane and Tentacles on the left side, depending upon which characters you took into the fight with you, since you had a Sword Tech or Magitech powered-up character that could have been doubled up with Go-Go, Atma weapon for Celeste, Setzer with the jump build or the Valiant Knife build. Cleave for instant death and Fenrir for calmness protection, but no Mute made Tier 2 the problem for the final battle, even with several HP plus 100 Espers in the seed due to the constant quarter counters, but it just made our Valiant Knife user even more powerful for the rest of the fight, only taking a turn or two for each of the next tiers, and Magre clocked in at 132.47, just ahead of Yakko Wacko's 133.22, before a haste spell took Magre's final time down to 132.17 for a 65-second advantage over the second place contestant. Saberwolf casted Life 2 to gain 2 minutes, taking him from 10th place down to 8th place to get a few more points in the standings over Mang de la Mang and Shadow Sid this week. Nice usage of your MP. The Blackjack seed had slot Cyan with Capture Celeste to take advantage of the shuffled random steals and control Edgar, so the only place we could sequence break into was the Narsh Weapon Shop for a Genji Glove or Aura Lance choice, which is a pretty easy one given the boots in the Narsh Shed for Edgar and a 7 battle curse shield. World of Ruin South Figaro Relic Shop had all the goodies at half price: earrings, Atlas armlets, and gauntlets with a Mario hat in the prisoner cell, and the Castle Throne Room had a Force Shield. shield. If you made it to World of Ruin to Zen on your looting route, Super Balls were available for 25k apiece, and Kieran was at the Zen Thief for only 17k with a Strength +1 bonus. Doma Siege had a vanilla leader dropping a ribbon to uncurse the shield if you didn't find one looting, along with calmness protection in the form of Golem. Opera House Disruption also had difficultest mobs in this seed as well, with level magics for one encounter and Skybase Hitman for the other. However, making it through the easy Rizzopass and Piranha's boss netted Ramu. Similar to the last seed, both Doma Dream and Magitech Factory came up all Espers, so on to Edgar's World of Ruin checks, where they also both were Espers, and the Gold Dragon was a bit annoying since all we had was Bolt 2 Magic and Meteor, but also Berserk to make this fight a lot safer, and the reward was a Ragnarok sword for Celeste to use. Now we're at 11 Espers at this point to go along with only 3 characters, well, really 2, since Cyan was just standing around gambling. And this meant our 4th character had to be at Kefka at Norsh, and we found ourselves an X-Magic Sabin at the top of the snowy mountain, so at least we'd be getting our Kefka Tower skip with access to the Phantom Train check. Imperial Camp showed us a 5th character with Umaro, which was unfortunately a dead end since a character wasn't showing when we peaked it going up to get Sabin and Norsh. Phantom Train was next since it was required for the Kefka Tower skip, and we found Jump Shadow, who was inserted into the party over Sabin, who also couldn't use the Ragnarok. After defeating a vanilla Ghost Train, Barren Falls was the next nearest stop, but unfortunately it was another Esper Carbuncle. After nabbing an Illumina from Gal Manor, which Sabin could actually use, Mount Colts had her 7th character Rage Setzer for Go mode. Kefka's Tower had an Air Force for the left party, Chatternook and Ultras 3 for the middle team, and Umaro on the right side. With both Golem and Fenrir, we could use a summon on tier 1 and another on tier 3. However, we didn't have instant death without calling on Espers, nor Siren or Mute, so this was a very long Kefka fight, especially for one free Fitz, who didn't have that fixed dice for Cyan from Collapsing House Loot or a Valiant Knife for Shadow, instead relying on the double-sworded monster that was Celeste, and it was the same tactic that winner Golden Shocker used for his 1:27:46 time, which was 20 seconds ahead of second place Stupid Sexy Flanders, who used Reflect to no effect to this round, and 29 seconds ahead of one free Fitz, who was in 3rd place for a super tight podium. Papa Shango nearly caught 4th place Boo the Runner with Haste 2, causing his adjusted time to be 1:31:38 compared to Boo's 1:31:14, and Chadius, originally in 10th casting Life 3, allowed him to speed past last week's winner Narves in 9th place and pull within 24 seconds of Ensign's Wesley's time, but it wasn't enough to put him in the points, as only the top 8 were granted in the Blackjack class. In the Falcon Cart class, Cyan had Magitech and a respectable 28 starting magic power, for his stats at least, along with another Setzer, this time with Soratech and GP Rain Mog. Our free checks at the Norsh Weapon Shop included an easy choice gem box of Ragnarok that nobody could yet use, and a 5 battle curse shield, along with Marvel shoes from the Colin Janin and Atma weapons for sale in the World of Ruin Weapon Shop. Albrook had a Valiant Knife in a chest that nobody could yet use, and Sequence breaking into the Collapsing House netted an Ice Shield, Red Jacket, Genji Glove, and Magus Rod to pump up Cyan's magic power, along with earrings and a peace ring in the Relic Shop to help uncurse the shield. With starting Soratech on Setzer, it only made sense to go to Cyan's Dream, where some tough bosses in Guardian and Doom awaited our runners. But if you made it through, the rewards were 3 Espers, Ramu, Ragnarok, and Tritok, along with that upgrade. You could also sequence break into the Magitech Factory in order to upgrade Cyan. The bosses here were much easier, with Dodaluma dropping Ifrit and Ultras 2 dropping Stray, before 2 more easy ones with Tunnel Armor and Ultras 1 landing you a 3rd Shiny Stone Shiva. Doma Siege's bosses in the wrong world, as Rexol was beaten for one of the rare dead checks with a Genji armor. With only Mughal Defense, Daryl's Tomb, and Kefka at Narsh left, all of which ended up being characters, by the way, I decided to peek Mughal Defense first, where I had to rescue Health Realm from the Three Stooges, and she could use both the Ragnarok and the Valiant Knife. Had we instead gone to Daryl's Tomb, we would have gotten Terra, and Narsh Battle had Throw Shadow. However, I decided to follow my most recent character's checks to Owzer's Mansion, where Jump Dance Gao was painting a nice image for the rich dude. Following that line of thinking to Gao's checks, the Velt gave Siren, and the Serpent Trench had a Yeti at the end. Heading to World of Ruin Narshe again, the Cliff Spot had Raiden, and Umaro's Cave had Tool Celeste to take over Ragnarok duties. Esper Mountain and Search the Skies provided 2 more easy Espers for Kefka Unlock if you didn't go to the Zen Thief or to any other check apparently. This character linearity was actually required in this seed since we had yet another 3-part check with 3 Espers if you got Shadow and did Floating Continent, which was kind of ridiculous given the fact that 2 of the spots are character Esper only rewards, as well as an Esper in the Veld Cave and Terrace checks other than Leet River, which we don't know what it was, all did not lead to other characters as well, so getting Gao as a lot of other runners' go mode after branching into multiple unnecessary checks. Even though I avoided all of that nonsense, this seed was far from over, as Kefka's Tower had many traps, including a 3rd vanilla boss Inferno, and a Goddess in the Guardian spot that wasn't afraid to use Love Token if you didn't send your Sword Tech or Magitech or Throw user in that party. Atma on one side and Atma Weapon on the other side could also potentially wipe a party at level 45 scaling if you weren't prepared or didn't have the right build. Although there was access to Exfer or Cleave and Siren from the Velt check since Gao wasn't my go mode, I didn't end up with Calmness Protection, as some runners got it from the Zozo Tower check with Terra. This meant that I had to just roll with the punches on tier 3 where I lost my Ragnarok and Magitech users. With only 2 out of 4 characters for Final Kefka, I prepped a decent backup 5th character to help out and played around with the Fallen One mechanic for my Valiant Knife user and Sword Tech 5, which allowed me to just barely eke out a victory following an ultimate counter with a time of 1:24:01, which actually placed me behind Drinks Glue's 1:23:48. However, I used the haste spell to shave off 30 seconds from my time, vaulting me into first place this week with an adjusted time of 1:23:31. Double Down used haste 2 to remove 90 seconds from his time, but it wasn't enough to catch Honeydew's 4th place 1:26:15 or Gar's 3rd place 1:25:46. Lunar Chimera joined the Falcon class for an interesting strategy this week involving the use of Quick, which would give him either 3 minutes or half the amount of time of the difference of their time from first place, whichever is greater. So he was able to have 16 minutes and 23 seconds come off of his time, which was enough to put him in 8th place up from his original 9th, but unfortunately only the top 6 runners get points in this kart class, so still on the outside looking in. A bold strategy, a really cool one, which is what this event is all about. So let's talk a little bit more about the magic spells before we talk about the second iteration of the Figaro Desert Passage this week. We're exactly halfway through the season and a balance patch has been implemented where the amount of MP that is granted after each week has been doubled, so you will get 2 MP per placement, and the effects of all spells have also been doubled. This means that the haste spell will shave off 60 seconds instead of 30, and slow will force someone behind you back by 60 instead of just 30. Although spells have affected the outcome of some races, especially in the past 2 weeks with 2 first place snipes, I believe Kefka Bot will be working overtime to figure out all the maths behind the times with more casts flying around, and they will impact the races more often. Since we're at the halfway point, let's check the overall standings here with Drinks Glue tapping Falconit on the shoulder, just 1 point back after this past week's race, although the top 4 remain unchanged. The top 16 runners here, demarked by that dotted line, will move on to the Battle Royale portion of the event after the 8 weeks have been concluded in order to place people in the top 16. So it's still very tight around the cutoff line right now at 27 points. This also means that there's plenty of opportunities to gain enough points to make it to the Battle Royale portion of the event, so don't get discouraged by all the points near the top, because all you need is to be in it to win it, as they say. In lieu of a full breakdown of the Figaro Desert Passage flag set in this particular video, I'll direct you to a Twitch broadcast, which will be live on YouTube sometime after this video has come out, of myself, Drinks Glue, and Gar walking through a practice seed and giving advice/pointers out there for how we think it's the best way to play one of these where you get the Lock and Edgar start, and the choices we'd make on routing and how to get the requirements the fastest. Link in the description of both the Twitch VOD and, once it's live, the YouTube video. That's going to do it for this week's Kefka Grand Prix Deluxe recap. I've been The Schwantz27. Until next time.